We launched Canada's first eGaming ETF back in June of 2019. It's listed on the TSX with the ticker HERO. We really launched this fund for a couple of primary reasons. First and foremost, we recognize how the business model for eGaming companies has changed dramatically over the last 10 years. Think about 10 years ago, if you got interested in a game, you'd go to the store, you'd buy the cartridge or the disc, you'd bring it back and you'd plug it into your console and away you'd go. But that's really where the revenue stream would stop for the eGaming company. In today's world, it's much more sophisticated business model. You often, for example, are allowed to download the games for free. You have something called a freemium model where you have to pay to unlock levels or boosters, or in the case of Fortnite, skins. The average millennial in North America today is spending over $110 a month just on eGaming. In addition to the in-app purchases, you also have a lot of other revenue lines that feed into the eGaming companies, like sponsorship revenue for the events, like advertising, like media rights, and so on. So it's a much more sophisticated business model that a lot of these companies have today. The second reason we launched this fund is because of the massive engagement that exists in the eGaming industry. Today, over 2.7 billion gamers exist. That's a third of our world's population. And by the way, it's not just the teenagers that often get stereotyped as gamers. It's also 40-something-year-old professionals that hop on an esport and compete with their friends and colleagues. It's also 75-year-olds who are playing games like Candy Crush and so on. And these gamers are spending at least 6 hours a week engaged in these games. Now, the viewership for the eGaming industry is also massive. You have Twitch, which was created by Amazon, which is an online streaming media specifically related to gaming, but 11% of all of the YouTube viewership hours today are actually eGaming related. 2020 was a really interesting year for this industry, for sure. Of course, back in March of 2020, we all got vaulted into a work from home environment or a stay at home environment. It definitely significantly increased the engagement in gaming. In fact, the amount of gaming went up by about 40% last year because people obviously had more time. But in addition to that, it was one of the mediums that gave people an outlet to socialize, because eGaming can actually be quite a social event that can actually take place. We also were missing professional sports for a lot of the year, so it gave people a way to engage in watching other people compete in an esport. So we definitely have seen a lot of engagement. In addition to that, we had the release of a couple of new consoles. As many of you know, PS5 came out from Sony, and a new console came out from Xbox as well. Usually that only happens every 6 or 7 years, so we definitely had some growth in the hardware side of the industry. Looking forward to this year, I think we're probably going to be in a lockdown type of environment for at least half of 2021. So I fully expect the engagement level to continue to be high as it relates to eGaming. But at some point, our world is going to reopen. And some would argue that when it does, people won't have as much time for eGaming. But I would say the big growth engine for the eGaming market over the next couple of years is going to be via the smartphone. As you know, most of the companies have created better technology within the smartphones. It's going to allow us, of course, to be able to game or engage in gaming and have that full portability. When you look back 5 years ago, the smartphone only made up about 25% of the eGaming market. Today, it makes up about 50%, and we think over the next few years, that's going to grow to about 75%. Now, it's one thing to build a game for the 200 million consoles that exist around the world, and it's quite another to build a game for the 4 billion smartphones that exist around the world. Obviously, it's a much bigger market, so we actually think that there's going to be a lot of growth from that. Another key driver for growth in the eGaming market will definitely be 5G technology, because it's going to make our speeds faster, our connection speed faster, which means that we're going to be able to download games quicker. But more importantly, it's also going to enable us to have games that have richer graphics as well, which is only going to enhance the overall gaming experience.